Hour 2 Overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. Luke Willson will join us here in just a moment. Team Owen Wilson on the clock tonight. Dolphins laying 2.5 at home against the Bills. Week 2 in the NFL. I love it. I love this game tonight. I think it's a massive game for both teams. I think it would be a big statement, really, for both teams. And I know the Bills have owned the division for a number of years, and the Dolphins had it, and they threw it away down the stretch last year, and the Bills said, thank you, we'll take it. But I think Miami's a legitimately quality team. They've been in the playoffs 2 years in a row. You're on the road, short week. It's going to be hot down there. Like, this is a big test for Buffalo, and whoever wins this game is making a big statement in the AFC. Big statement tonight.
Big swing. You go 2-0 or 1-1, you're just kind of not so happy. But 2-0, fired up. It's a great start to the season.
Great start. Great start. The Jets are 0-1. New England won their game, but it feels like it doesn't matter that much. You qualify that a little bit. But, all right, Luke is coming up here in a moment. I will have an announcement on Al's brother and Hayes and Bro. Okay, I feel like I should announce it with Luke when he joins us in studio. And when he does that, I will make the announcement. All right? It'll be a minute. He's going to come in. Something will be said. All right?
I know what's happening. I know they're bringing in a third party. They're bringing in an advisor.
Guess?
That's my guess is you're bringing in an advisor. Somebody in an advisory role. Davis Sanchez, somebody like that, Kara Waglin, somebody who's on that NFL panel.
Okay.
I think that's my
That's
gut
your
instinct.
guess.
Yes,
all right?
That's my guess, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I think there's a chance you sit Al's brother down. He's waiting in the studio, and you say, stand up and leave and don't come back.
You think I've fired Al's brother, or I'm on the verge of doing that?
I do.
After 1 week.
Because I think you're cutthroat, and I think you've had enough. And I think that's the way you do business.
He's not Kelly McCrimmon. He's not. Yeah, I don't think he's Kelly McCrimmon.
Listen,
the Vegas
it
Golden
is.
Knights.
I was on the other side of the Al's brother phenomenon for a couple of years, and it was so beautiful. Like that was when the Beansy meme came alive, because Al's brother, it was loss after loss after loss, and backdoor cover and backdoor cover. And last year I brought on Al's brother, and he and I, we found some rhythm there, and in the playoffs I think we saw the board pretty well. But let's call it what it is. Week 1 was an absolute catastrophe. Absolute catastrophe. And sure, it's early, and it is a marathon.
What's
but it's
the pie
a tough way
chart
to
of blame? What's the pie chart of blame? Do you want to take 30 of it?
Well, yeah, I think that's appropriate. And I understand I'm kind of at the top, which is a little bit gutless to suggest that I'm only going to take that much.
That is a gutless call, being at the top.
It is, but I was on the Cowboys, and I was on the Niners, and he was on the Browns and the Jets, and he pushed hard for it. I wanted to let him breathe because, I wanted him to feel good about himself, and it just didn't work out that way. So Luke coming up here in a moment. But also injuries are a bit of an issue in terms of the game tonight. The backfield for Miami, there's some uncertainty in terms of who's going to be available, who's going to play. But, Tua's a guy that when it's hot in September, Tua usually plays pretty well. And I think Tua is going to be in fine form. And Tyreek Hill, let's see if he gets to the stadium tonight without any issues.
Yeah.
But, I feel like Tyreek Hill probably will have himself a big game. And when you consider how electric he is and how electric that offense can be, and Mike McDaniel and the way he cooks up plays, it's going to be a challenge for Buffalo tonight.
They're the Leafs,
challenge.
man. They're dynamic in the regular season. They run around, they make plays, but they can't win in the cold, and they can't win a big game.
Bit of a problem. Bit of an issue. How many times have we used other teams as an analogy for the Leafs?
Dallas is the Leafs. Miami's the Leafs.
Miami's the Leafs. I feel like we've used a couple of baseball teams. I feel like in the NBA, there's certainly a number of them where, like, that's the Leafs. It happens really all the time. All right, you want to bring in Luke? We got your boy here, Team Owen Wilson. There they are. There's Luke Willson, our TSN football analyst, doing his thing, ready for Week 2 tonight, Miami, Buffalo. There it is.
Oh, it's back. The hat's back, baby. Let's go.
I love it. Is that a new hat or is that the same hat as last year?
That's the championship hat from last year from my Partsy. Owen Wilson.
Team Owen Wilson.
Yes, right. My guy.
All right, buddy.
Hayes, I've been here. We had a little adapter issue, so I've been able to listen the last few minutes. You seem down. You seem in the dumps.
He's got something going on. He's got something cooking.
You know, Noodles, you warned him. You were sitting right here, right where I'm sitting right beside me. You said, I don't know. I'd take San Francisco.
You're right.
Yeah,
it was a disastrous first week. There's no other way to put it. We went 0-3 on our picks. Like he said, a coin flip saved us, basically, from you guys having an immaculate week 1. And I put a lot of thought into this. And I'm not going to fire Al's brother. I'm not firing Al's brother. And I don't need an advisor either. But what I have done is send Al's brother on a 1-week sabbatical. I want him on an ayahuasca retreat, and I have sent him there. He will not be a part of the picks. I've sent him on an ayahuasca retreat to find himself and to see the board again. So he will not be a part of today's festivities. He will not be having any input on the picks tomorrow.
Hold on.
He's out for week 2. That's the announcement. Week 2, he will not be a part of it.
So do you remember what did they do with Samsonov last year? They were just like,
you're just out for a while. That's what Al's brother.
You're giving Al's brother a reset?
Al's brother Samsonov is being reset week 2, and ayahuasca is strongly advised.
A reset from what? This guy's gone on a 3-year losing streak.
That's where the ayahuasca comes into play, man. I need the whole programming to be reset.
This guy needs to be born again.
He needs his brain rechanneled, man.
Yes.
Like totally rewired.
Right. Wow. So, Luke, when you're on here tomorrow, Al's brother will not be a part of that. Okay, Al's brother is on a 1-week hiatus, but he will return better than ever, stronger than ever.
Here's my question, Hayes. Just, looking into the future here. Let's say you have a good weekend. Let's say your picks go 2-1. Mm-hmm. I'd say in the gambling world, especially against the spread, 2-1 is a winning formula. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
So if you go 2-1 this week, are you going to bring Al's brother back?
Well, I am. That is concerning for him. Admittedly, that is a bit of a problem. If I have a big week, he could be in trouble. But I've made that commitment to him. I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of integrity. I've said, week 3, Al's brother, you're back in the fold, and I want to hear from you. And I want to hear what you're all about.
I do have another quick question here because I am a little nervous. Last year I learned about the $1,000 handshake thanks to the hockey guys on this panel. Yeah. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, my phone in the group chat is getting spammed by Doogie sending me Buffalo Bill trends. Do you have something to do with this, Hayes? Since
I have
when
nothing
has
to do with
Doogie been trying to follow the quote-unquote trends in, I don't know what you would call it here, interference to the 10th degree, 100th degree into our picks? I mean, he's sending stats that are ridiculous.
Doogie's a producer, and he's esteemed, and he's looking for information, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's an objective commissioner. It has nothing to do with what you're suggesting.
Partsy, are you not a little nervous about this, Partsy?
Let's just flip the switch. The picture you had last year when you were shaking Doogie's hand and making side deals, that's Hayes when we're not in there. That is Hayes.
I'm worried about it, and I think Doogie is up to no good right now. I'm concerned.
Okay. Well, what about this trend that Josh Allen never loses on Thursday night? Are you suggesting that's meaningless, or what does that say about Josh Allen?
Furthermore, what about trends like that? Do you ever look at that? Like the last 7 years, this guy on this day, if he plays on Thursday, he never loses. Do you look into things like that?
No. To be honest with you, I do not, O-Dog. I mean, there's a few things I will say I would look into. For example, a Thursday night. We were pretty good in Seattle on Thursday nights. And I thought a lot of that was attributed to Pete Carroll. And part of it, this might sound absurd, less time to prepare. We didn't ever put a helmet on. I think one year we didn't even put cleats on for a Thursday night game. It was literally like, come in, hey, tennis shoes all week, mental week, take everything off the body, make it as easy physically, obviously very demanding as far as the mental aspect goes of it. So I always thought that gave us a bit of an edge on Thursdays because Pete was, such a player's coach and forward thinking, where I know that there are other coaches in this league that are like, hey, it's Thursday. I don't care. We got to put the helmets on. We got to have 1 day of pads before we play this game. So I will look into some trends in that sense. But as far as like, hey, It's ridiculous. I'm not saying he hasn't, but it's like, so I'm supposed to take that into effect and be like, oh, that means he's going to win because last year he won? I think trends, for the most part, are in football pretty stupid. I really do.
Okay. Well, listen, I hear you. And generally speaking, you can find trends on both sides. That's what ends up being stupid. Is, yes, the Bills do this on Thursdays, and then you'll find something positive about Miami at home in week 2. Like, you can always counter them with something that the other team has done, especially if you have winning programs, and these two teams have been winning the last couple of years. So it's a big game. It's one where sometimes when I'm in a situation like this, I put my feet in the shoes of, like, the New York Jets, let's say, who are supposed to be competing with these two teams. And I still think we'll be in the fight and we'll be competing with them. Who do they want to see win tonight? Who do they want to see be in a better position that they can chase down? In other words, who would they be more scared of? You think they're more scared of the Bills, more scared of Miami? If you're the New York Jets, how are you approaching this game tonight?
I think pretty much the whole league would be more scared of the Dolphins. I don't think that the Jets are necessarily scared of them, but if you're asking me to, like, phrase it in that sense, the Dolphins offer a lot of problems, especially on the offensive side of the football, meaning you got Tyreek, you got Waddle. Tua's obviously very comfortable in this offense, and you really have somewhat of a three-headed monster now in the backfield with Mostert, Achane, and Jeff Wilson Jr., who we're probably going to see a lot of tonight. And then the supporting cast around them, are they all pros? No, but they're still good players. The tight end Smythe is good. Braxton Berrios is good. So I sit there and it's like, man, it's a pick your poison type thing with this Miami team on offense. And the Bills, it's Josh Allen. And don't get me wrong, Josh Allen is, especially the way he played last week, I'm going to say a top 5, maybe top 3 player in the NFL. I'm giving Mahomes 1. I think 2's probably Lamar or Josh right now. So you're still dealing with, like, generational talent in Josh Allen. But after that, you've got a defense on the Bills that are riddled with injury. And offensively, you don't really have – there's no Tyreek, on the Bills right now. There's no even Waddle on the Bills right now. They got good players, but it's certainly not the roster that the Dolphins have.
Partsy, we talked about the Dolphins. They can't win in the cold. They can't win the big game. Is it just as simple as they got to get there again, and when they do, they have to win? Or is there anything that can go happen, whether through leadership during regular season games, that can help that process when you get to that moment?
The latter, for sure. And I think it happened last week, O-Dog, where there was a big article about Tua giving a halftime speech that was a bit uncharacteristic, and he was starting to call guys out. And to me, I think that has been or will be a turning point for this team. Because you said it, last year it was like, hey, they beat the heck out of a lot of bad teams, and then all of a sudden when they played some good teams, it was very, very close, and they ended up mostly on the losing side of those games. What is it? What is it that's going to push them over that edge? And to me, it's locker room culture. Again, I can only talk to my own experiences, but when we were rolling in Seattle, we were a very close-knit team. Obviously, very different personalities on that team, but I did feel like Pete had us all on Sundays, just wound us up all week. It was kind of like a jack in the box. Sunday comes out here, you were putting it all on the line for each other. I thought Pete was a master at getting us motivated in that sense. And I can vividly remember numerous fourth quarters where we're sitting there and we're either up 3, we're down 3, whatever, and you kind of look around and everyone's looking around. You see the Legion of Boom over there. You got Marshawn, and it's like, hey, we're better than this team. We care about it more. This is our moment. These are when we shine. And it became one of those things where even in the NFC Championship game against the Packers in 2015, the 2014 season, sorry to bring this up, Hayes, we're down 19-0, and you still felt like, hey, we've been here before. We believe in it. We know we will come through when it matters. And I think that Miami needs to kind of get over that hump. And honestly, I think last week was a big step in that direction. They were down a bunch early. They were able to figure it out at halftime, have a clutch win late. And I do think Jacksonville's a good team. I don't think that, they're a Super Bowl team, but it's a good football team. And I think that this, now for them, is really going to set the direction of their season this Thursday night. Short week. They're playing a Bills team with Josh Allen. If they want to be in the conversation with the Kansas Cities, with the Baltimores, and they want people to take them legit, this is a game that they need to win. And we'll see how it goes. Because, again, as much as I say they have a great roster, When you got a team with Josh Allen, it's never going to be easy.
That's what would scare me and would consistently scare me. And like this question pops up all the time: who do you like more in the division? And I always end up getting to the Bills in large part because of Allen. And yes, they don't have the same weapons, of course. Very few teams do in the league when you consider what Hill is and what Waddle is. And even if they have a healthy backfield, they can run through 2-3 backs that can provide a lot of different production. But, the offensive line, I think that in the trenches, like the line of scrimmage, the Bills are pretty good. Their line, their front seven's pretty good. Allen's pretty good. McDermott, he doesn't have the same vibe as McDaniel. McDaniel's going to cook up some plays that are going to blow your socks off. And McDermott can be overly conservative, especially with the way they approach the offense. But he finds a way to win, man. Like, he does find a way to win. Like, so if it's like line of scrimmage, quarterback, coach, I'd lean Bills over Miami.
That's a fair statement. And I think that, we're going to see tonight, and you said it, like even the Dolphins offensive coordinator, Frank Smith, he was my tight end coach when I had the cup of coffee in Oakland. And he was a brilliant, brilliant guy. Like, even then, I'm like, why is this guy coaching tight ends? And so I do think that it's going to be kind of one of those ordeals where Frank's got to, figure out how to handle the trenches a little better for Miami, and whether that's misdirection, whether that's the run game that looked great last week. But I got to tip my hat to McDermott. Like, as much as I think that this roster is, more thin, lacks depth, even last year, they got banged up on defense. He seemingly was able to scheme guys up and still find ways to win games. My knock on McDermott, though, is, and I'm sure he's preaching it, but it's not getting through, where it's the penalties, like the sloppiness. If the Bills have Josh Allen and just played a cleaner version of football last week, 9 penalties for 65 yards. They have a bad fumble, which, again, was on Josh. I thought he should have a little more awareness in the pocket. And when they finally get over that hump and you're like, hey, game's over, we've beat Arizona, they give up a kick return in the new kick return world that should never happen.
Never happen.
Okay? It's like, and that's where it gets weird, where it's like, and it's such a strange team where you see, like, hey, they're really playing better than their roster on defense. And McDermott's got the guys bought in. They're playing hard. Buffalo is obviously a very, very loud stadium, passionate stadium, tough place to go in and get a win at. And you start out super slow. You have a ton of penalties. Josh Allen saves a day because he's that good. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we've got this thing in the bag. Let's really, put the nail in the coffin. Nope, we're going to let him right back in. And those things to me are concerning. So again, I look at McDermott and I think he's done a phenomenal job in a lot of ways. But in the simple ways of the last few years of just not being a highly penalized team, having clean football. For example, you're up 18, kick the ball out of bounds or kick the ball out of the end zone.
Right.
Like, you're doing fine. And if you look at Arizona's numbers, they weren't really an offensive juggernaut against you. They got a couple plays early. They didn't have huge numbers. They weren't gashing you. Kyler Murray is not Tua. He's not Aaron Rodgers. It's like, what are we doing?
Well, I'm sure you saw Murray's comments earlier in the week about Marvin Harrison Jr., where he said it's not my job to find Marvin Harrison Jr. It's, go talk to the coach or the offensive coordinator, which I find just a strange answer for a rookie on your team who's highly
really
touted.
Is. It makes it seem like you hate him.
Exactly. Yes. It's so unnecessary. And to be fair to him, I don't know the tone of it. I've just read it and I've read through it. But to me, it's just such a stupid comment to make for a guy who is going to try to save you. And I know the relationship between quarterbacks and wide receivers, but there are going to be times this year and hopefully throughout his career in Arizona where Kyler's just going to throw it up and Harrison Jr. is going to bring it down for him. And this kid's maybe the most highly touted wideout since like Megatron, and he had one catch in week one. They didn't even look at him. And
again, even if that's what you're thinking, say it behind closed doors. That you've got, you've got some issues here.
Crazy.
Okay, that there's a lot of pressure. Things for Kyler have not gone well thus far. It's like, how hard is it to sit there and say, hey, first off, you're the quarterback of the team. You know what? 100%. We got to get Marvin Harrison Jr. going. And that's on me. At the end of the day, we need to, if he's not in the game plan, I need to make sure he's in the game plan. We need to be utilizing him a little bit better. But I need to find ways to get this guy the ball. That's why we picked him this early. It's just the bottom line. But to go in there and just be like, hey, not my problem. Okay, and I'm sure it's the same in, across sports. But in the locker room, yeah, guys aren't going to go and charge them up. Maybe they will. But they know about it, and you think about it. And if you're an offensive lineman, and I used to say this all the time, it's like there's a big difference, when we were in there early on in our career in Russ, fault him as much as you want now, but he said the right stuff in the media, almost robotic, to a fault, never threw anybody under the bus, and he competed like hell. Again, frothing at the mouth type stuff. Mm-hmm. You get your own line in there, and they will sit there and go that extra inch or whatever cliche you want to say for Russ. You cannot tell me that is the culture in Arizona
No,
when your quarterback says, not my problem, like basically talk to the OC.
Right.
Not my problem.
Week 1. 1 week into the season.
1 week, do you believe that that's not Deshaun Watson on the burner account or whatever? Are you seeing that online?
I have, Noodles, and to be honest, I will gladly
why do they
this.
think it's him?
Well, it's just throwing like offensive coaches under the bus, like every offensive guys on the line, like it's everybody but him. Correct?
Overly defensive of Deshaun Watson, and nobody's doing that but Deshaun Watson right now.
And again, a guy like Deshaun, like he's not a rookie, and I guess what bothers me about his performance is if you kind of really break down those X's and O's, there's a lot of moments where, okay, even if it's a bad call, you can get out of the call as a quarterback. Or at least you should be able to say, hey, I look up, I see what's going on here. What we have called is not going to work. So I'm going to change. Hey, it can be simple as like walk up to the line, and I'm talking, it's literally, hey, rip. Rip will give the O-line a direction. They're doing a quick slide. You give a hand signal to the left, hand signal to the right, and we're off. Like, you don't need to come up and do a dissertation. You get out of it, okay? You try and get a 5-yard completion, and we play the next play. But instead, it's like, it was an absolute circus.
Yeah, it was. And the burner account stuff, that's some of my favorite content. I love.
It's a dangerous game, though.
Did you see what
can you guys think of anything more embarrassing if you get caught with, like Brian Colangelo and his wife going through that? That is some of the most embarrassing garbage I can ever imagine.
Ever.
Yeah, thinking
that you would stoop to that level. Like
his name is
Leroy Bickerstaff.
Yeah, Leroy Bickerstaff. It's like no protection. Sorry, play calling. Deshaun did all he could today. He's the furthest thing from the problem.
It's definitely a burner.
Coach is ruining the career of one of the
hopefully he's
best
smart
athletes.
enough to say to his buddy, go to the store and buy a phone, and then we're going. You are going. I'm not even touching that phone. You are going to the burner account. I'm not the burner account.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't, because that is a real thing. Like the actual person has been the burner account many times.
Yeah. Yes, and whatever the address goes back, the IP address goes back to them, and it's like, what are you thinking, man?
Right.
The next thing I would say, and I learned this the hard way, but my second year, Zach Miller, our starting tight end, gets hurt, and I'm in there kind of thrown in the fire. And we had just won the Super Bowl, so it's like, hey, is this second-year tight end our weak link? And I'm flipping through Twitter, and it's good and it's bad. I don't play a great first game, and we got an issue, and I'm losing my mind. And then you kind of dawned on me, like, again, and you would think at this point, especially for Deshaun, that, hey, who's the bigger clown here? The guy who's tweeting this, who has no idea what he's talking about, or me, who's letting this random guy affect my well-being, my mentals, anything that I'm thinking? The answer is me. I am the clown, not the guy tweeting.
You cannot let a person, I've been saying this since I started this job, someone with a pizza-stained shirt that lives in their parents' basement cannot affect your life.
Correct, O-Dog.
Yes.
This guy's making $46 million guaranteed.
Yeah. Leroy Bickerstaff.
I
love it.
If I'm him, I'm sitting there. I don't have a Twitter account. I'm not even going on.
I know.
Like, what are we doing?
Like, just responding, and it's too much not to be associated somehow with Deshaun. Like,
it's way over the top.
Exactly. It's one thing to be a contrarian, and another thing to believe that he'll figure it out. But you just cannot be fully committed to that guy playing well last week. Like, he was horrendous. I read something this morning, I think it was Pro Football Focus, and some of their rankings are a little bit off, and it's an analytically driven thing. But he got sacked 6 times, and they did not assign any of those sacks to Cleveland's offensive line. They basically said it was Deshaun's fault every time.
Oh. Yes.
Like, and if you watch it, as you did, Luke, you're like, yeah, he held on to the ball too long. Like,
and he's leaving the pocket. He doesn't need to. Again, like, these are the little things that quarterbacks who want to excel need to know. And there was the 4th and 6. Can't remember what quarter it was. But he's got 6. He's got 5 linemen, obviously blocking. He's throwing the ball. A tight end that stays in. And he's got a running back who's going to chip on the way out. So you got 6. It's called 6.5 blockers. The Cowboys bring 4. Nobody got beat. It's like, dude, why are we running to the right? Like, I know that, like, yes, it's starting to close on you, but it's 4th down. Mm-hmm. You got to sit in there and deliver this ball. And it's like, oh, no, not what I thought. Let's go run. And now all of a sudden, it's not. It's just, again, cue the circus up. And he's not running like Josh Allen right now. Like, if Josh Allen does that tonight, I get it. It's Josh Allen.
He'll probably move the sticks.
Correct. Guy looks like
down.
Michael Jordan jumping in the end zone last week,
Yep.
Where Deshaun's not that. No. He's not that right now. It's just the reality.
No, it's not good, man. It's really not good. All right, so the line is Miami minus 2.5, which I find that surprising. I mean, that's the books. FanDuel saying that neutral site, Buffalo's the better team. I guess I can't argue with that, but I thought this would be a 3-point, maybe push money towards Miami, considering they're at home. They were at home last week. Buffalo traveling for the first time, short week. But you guys are on the clock to start week 2. Again, Al's brother is on an ayahuasca retreat for the week. He is no longer a part of the program for week 2.
I know what that means, by the way. He's going on a cruise tomorrow. He is going on a cruise. He is going on a cruise with his dad tomorrow, and he's on a flight to Miami right now. And he'll be on a.
He's had a tough day.
Yes, him and Jingles are at Pearson right now.
You should play it for Luke. What happened to him in the 3 o'clock?
Do you want to hear what happened to our boy Al's brother?
I do. What happened?
Carnage today at 3. Now,
let me just cue it up a little bit. He had a guy on the phone he thought was one of his best buddy Jingles, and the guy on the phone wasn't Jingles. So just go ahead and have a listen to this.
It's my good friend Josh Ingles, betting analyst at covers.com. What's going on, Jingles?
I think you got the wrong Josh.
I got the wrong Josh?
I think so.
Who are we speaking with?
This is Josh Goldberg.
Josh Goldberg's a Blue Jay analyst, and Al's brother thought he was talking to a football capper, his boy Jingles, and it was...
Boy Jingles did him dirty, man.
A catastrophe.
That's tough.
So dirty.
This kind of hurts my heart because full transparency here. I'm talking to my pops. He's a big fan of the show, huge Leafs guy, and he's like, yo, man, I love the show, but I was going online and damn, people are really being tough on Al's bro right now. I kind of feel for the guy.
What's going on, Jingles?
What's going on, Jingles? Jingles.
Oh, man. But he's ice cold right now.
I know. He's cruising through the ayahuasca river.
I get the retreat. Now, going to the pick, Hayes,
yes.
One thing I'd like to put out there is there was a comment made that tried to divide me and Partsy, which is the most elite dynamic gambling duo in this country. Mm-hmm. So we're going to let O-Dog start with this bad boy, and I think I'm going to come in and see I want to hear what he has to say. We've spoken earlier, and I'm going to agree or disagree because this is how teams operate.
Okay.
So, Partsy, let me know what you're thinking.
We had a simple conversation, and these are just two, and I'm not trying to sound stupid right now, two former professional athletes that talk about sports. That's all we do. And we have, I love you, Partsy. And I called the man, and I just said, this is my original thought. I just have a positive vibe about the Finns. I don't know what you think, and I'll let you take it away from there. I don't care what you do. You obviously pulled the trigger on these decisions, but my initial thought is Finns. I'm not like these other two turkeys that come up with dumb stats, and they don't do this on Thursdays or the last 10 years, blah, blah, blah. It's just a gut feeling, and I'm rocking it, but you have the ultimate call. You are the boss of this operation.
Partsy, I could not agree with that more. First and foremost, the gut gut feeling. We're on the Fins.
Yes.
All right.
Half a block.
Next thing I'll say, which no one seems to be talking about because of all the other storylines, and this one's going to break Hazy B's heart. You know who's playing safety for the Miami Dolphins? Jordan Poyer. Who didn't Jordan Poyer play for what, the last 7 years?
Yeah,
The Buffalo Bills. So I look at this game and I think to myself, all right, Josh Allen is what scares me. On paper, the Dolphins should win. Josh Allen scares me. If there's a human being on this planet that can help contain Josh Allen and get everybody on the same page, what Josh likes to do, what he doesn't like to do, Jordan Poyer is going to be him. He's seen him every day for the last X amount of years. I think that's a huge ordeal, and I think that's going to push the Dolphins over the edge. The next thing that I do think is that with Teron Johnson out, the nickel cornerback for the Bills, it's going to be all hands on deck for the Bills defense trying to stop this pass game. So my guess is they're going to try and not give up the big play way off. And to be honest with you, I think that actually bodes well for Miami. Maybe they don't hit the 80-yarder to Tyreek, but they're going to be able to slice and dice underneath. You see Tua, he kind of likes that. I got the, hey, we're going to fake the run and just shoot a little RPO in there. They like having that. It's something he did in college. It's something he does now. I think that the Dolphins, especially after Tua's halftime speech, we talked about it earlier in the show, this is a statement game for them. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. We got Josh Allen. It's tough to blow a team out, but I do think the Dolphins roll tonight. I like them by 6, potentially 8, somewhere in that range. That's where I'm going.
All right. Picks in Miami. I'd have to concur with that. I mean, it seems like a fishy line. That's the only thing I'm wondering. Like you're talking about this with the Colts and Texans last week. It's like, I get the Bills are the Bills, and maybe it's public money coming in on them because of Josh Allen, but it feels like this is a spot where the Dolphins realize they have to have this game. Like short week, no travel, they're at home, they're waiting, it's going to be hot. They got to take advantage of this game, and it's more of a statement game for Miami than it is Buffalo. But
the coach has hyped it up to that where he's like, he had his famous comment. I don't like this. I'm starting to side. What do you think about the coach, Partsy? I'm starting to sour a little bit. He's starting to look corny. He looks like goofy when he's talking. He looks stoned yesterday, to be honest with you. It was like, what are you trying to do here?
Trying too hard,
Yes.
I think.
Agreed with both of those things. And again, I look at it as from like a guy who sat in that chair every morning. The thing about Pete Carroll, whether guys loved him or hate him, I was obviously on the love him side. He was the same guy for 7 straight years for me. The exact same guy. And, sure, we had different plays, whatever, but you knew where Pete was going to stand, and it was authentic to him. And that's why I was like, hey, you know what Pete's going to say? You respect the hell out of it, because it's not like one moment Pete Carroll is, a California guy, and the next week he's wearing cowboy boots and a cowboy hat.
Right.
At this point, McDaniels now looks like he's Mr. Miami and lives at, Live nightclub. I think it would get to the point for some of the veteran guys in there, like, hey, at the end of the day, this is my job. I'm feeding my family like this. A lot of other things going on. Like, we want a guy to be consistent. So I do think that he's starting to flirt with that line of like, who is leading the ship right now? If they start losing games, that could potentially come and be an issue.
I think he pulled into the stadium in a Rolls Royce.
Of course he did.
Last
with his
week.
big, giant, iced coffee and his Gucci knapsack.
Rolls Royce
How big is he? Is he like 5'8"?
I don't know.
Like he looks like he's 5'8", 165 pounds. He would need a booster seat in a Rolls Royce.
The Rolls Royce that's a tough look.
It's obnoxious when you're 32 years old, too, or whatever it is.
Exactly. And for me, it's like, and I know this is very stereotypical, but I always say, like, I always wanted my offensive lineman to drive a truck.
Yeah.
You want that O-line to come in with, I'm not a huge truck guy, but is it the King Ranch edition? Just guzzling gas, like
antlers on the side of it, and camo steering wheel.
Yes, Marty. That's what you want. You want the Rolls Royce. Don't get me wrong. I would love, wide out, electric DB, pull in that black murdered out Rolls Royce. I love that. But when my coach comes in, I'd hope that he's riding like maybe a Tesla, something like real, especially depending on what your vibe is as a coach. Something that's really computerized, if you will.
Yeah.
It's kind of. I'm not thrilled that my coach is out here pulling in a Rolls Royce. I'm really not.
Well, yeah.
It's just like somebody in sales that wheels in a really nice car. You're like, How much money are you making that you shouldn't be making?
Yes.
Right?
Well, you guys are riding it. There's a trend, man. It's a Rolls-Royce trend, and you guys are riding with it.
Might damn us.
Yep, you're riding with the Dolphins, laying 2.5. All right, good luck tonight. We'll catch you tomorrow. Noel's brother, you're just taking me on this week.
Can't
so
wait.
Ready. Be ready. There he is, Luke Willson. Pro Athlete Salute. The boys are on the Dolphins tonight. More on that later this afternoon. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider, in about 25 minutes. Steve Tasker on Bills Dolphins as well in about an hour. Every team's in town. Every player effectively has arrived. You're already seeing injury news. You see Luke Hughes, defenseman for the Devils, shoulder injury during the offseason. Not sure how that happened, but he's out 6 to 8 weeks. You worry that will that linger? He avoided surgery, but is that something that could hang over him? He was a really good rookie last year.
Yeah,
really
good.
That Hughes family, it's pretty wild that it looks like they're going to hit on all three being like superstar. Two of them are superstars already. Jack and Quinn Hughes are already full-blown superstars.
Yeah.
And if Luke can get there too, that's got to be unprecedented, right? Like there have been brothers before, but not all three of them chasing hardware. The most recent I could think of, Eric Stahl. He was a superstar.
Yeah.
Mark Stahl was just the star player, and his brother Mark was a star player.
Jordan and Mark,
Jordan and Mark.
They were both like really good players.
Yeah.
Really good players.
But wasn't there – didn't the Manning brothers have a third one?
Arch Manning.
Arch.
Yeah, he was the oldest. He didn't play quarterback in college. I think he played wide receiver, and he suffered some injury that didn't allow him to continue to play. It's his son that's the quarterback down in Texas.
Right. But that's those two were superstars,
definitely.
Right? Eli and Peyton.
Definitely.
Mega stars.
That's what I mean. But, like to have a third. Now, I don't know if Luke projects to be, but it sounds like, talking to people in Jersey, they thought he was a real special player. So hopefully that doesn't, to your point, Hayes, linger for the whole season.
Absolutely. But Jersey's a compelling team. I mean, we talked about them a couple of weeks ago with where they are with FanDuel odds and them competing in the division. And
people like them.
People like them. And Sheldon Keefe, he talked about getting a great opportunity. He got a great opportunity when he got to Toronto, took over for Babcock, and had a ready-made team to go to the playoffs. Right? Obviously, they didn't win the playoffs, but they were pretty stacked and prepared to compete every single year. And he's effectively walking into a similar situation down in Jersey.
Yeah,
like it sets up beautifully.
When you really cash in and have everything set up beautifully. He got that opportunity with little amount of success in Toronto in the playoffs. If you go to a team and get it done, you've got 5 sheets waiting for you at the next stop, time and time again for the next 15 years.
Right.
Because everybody thinks, that guy's available. We got the team to do it. He can get us over the hump.
Exactly.
It's sitting right there for you if you get it done at a younger age. And 15 years, teams are going to want you for $5 million.
You're looking at a 30-year coaching career in the NHL.
Of course.
There are guys that are doing that. I mean, Lindy Ruff's doing that. Lindy's back in Buffalo, and Paul Maurice's been around for a long time.
Dude, Paul Maurice, he got it done in Florida. I don't know what his plans are. He's been doing it for 30 years, as he said. He could do it for 20 more if he wanted to.
Well, yeah, he's a cup winner now, right? So everyone wants.
He could be that. He could be that, like Daryl Sutter, the veteran coach that won't put up with any BS. That's going to come in. He could do it for 20 more if he wanted. I don't think he will. But
he won't. But he's the closer. I can't see him going anywhere but Florida now. He'll ride that out for years, I would think, and then possibly retire down there. Pretty good spot to retire. And you're the winning coach that's associated with that team, and that certainly does go a long way. But they had good goaltending in Jersey, and I was saying yesterday I was doing that hit with Marty. Marty Baron's had his 7 Canadian goaltending tandems ranked. He had Winnipeg 1, Vancouver 2, Ottawa 3, Edmonton 4, I think Toronto 5, Montreal 6, Calgary 7.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean.
Well,
you look at Ottawa, that's, Vezina winner there, right? Now you've got Allmark there. Like, we know Vancouver, Demko. We know that Hellebuck in Winnipeg. So you're right. Like, and regardless of what you think of Stuart Skinner, he played in 82 games last year.
Right.
Literally 82 games, 59 and 21. With I think that's 82. I'm going to do the math, actually. Paul, 59 and 23. That's what, 23 in the playoffs he played. Sorry. But, I mean, that's some durability, you know? Who knows?
That was my only
Hayes, or you guys just had the one list?
My only pushback on that was maybe Ottawa 3 ahead of Skinner and the Oilers. Not that I don't like Ullmark as a goalie. I just wonder what it's going to look like in Ottawa.
As a one, too.
Yes,
right?
as a number one, exactly. He was a tandem guy in Boston. Boston was a great team. He won that Vezina when they had more points than anyone in the history of the league. They were the definition of a juggernaut, and he was a big part of that, and he deserved it. His numbers were staggering. But Travis Green, the way they defend, the way they've had their issues early in the season at times, like you still got to show me there. Yeah. Where Edmonton, I know, is going to be stacked. I'm pretty certain they're going to be very good. And I think Skinner will be good. But I think the last 3 are indisputable. I think Calgary moving off Markstrom, Vladar and Wolf, we'll see what that is.
Yeah.
The 2 younger guys in Montreal, they have to prove who they are. And the same thing in Toronto. Like Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolar, that's as high as you're going until you prove you deserve to be higher. Yep. You got 2 guys who have never been a number one. And Joseph Woll, he's I think that would be a great sign for the Leafs for him to determine himself as a number one. Of the things you could choose to see happen this year on an individual basis, not saying, hey, win the Cup, but just say this is something that happened with this player. Joseph Woll establishing himself as a true number one might be at the top of my list. Like that would just be a huge win for them, especially considering they've committed to him on a 3-year deal. Like that 3-year deal kicks in after this year. If you've got a guy at $3.8 million per whatever for 3 years, that is a massive, massive win.
Yes,
right.
He's one of those guys. I don't know who we've been talking about recently who are going to be curious about. It was Aaron Rodgers coming out, watching the health, and can he do this? I'm going to have a similar feeling when I'm watching that goaltender this year, just with the history and just with the craziness of the game 7 where it was like he's actually not playing tonight, and everyone was like, "What?" Do you remember how? Do you remember hearing that?
It's crazy.
Like,
yeah,
it was one of the most bizarre things as far as transactional, where you're like, this guy's taking a warm up. This is the first guy to hit the ice. Joseph Woll, by the way, is not playing tonight. I was just like, what in the hell is that?
Staggering.
Staggering.
He was why they came back from down 3-1 in many ways. He was the face of the comeback. It's a 2-game stretch, but still, he played so well. He looked so calm. He looked so comfortable in that situation, and he couldn't get to a 3rd straight game without an injury that took him out. And who knows when he was going to return. Even if they won Game 7, would he be prepared to play the next round? I don't know. But the Joseph Woll storyline is going to be one that really holds a lot of weight this year. Pierre LeBrun in about 20 minutes. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel, still to come as well on the game tonight. Dolphins, Bills in Miami. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Pierre LeBrun and Steve Tasker still to come. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel, still to come as well. The President's Cup is rapidly approaching, man. We are making plans for Montreal. We're having meetings, right? A lot of meetings to make sure we're all on the same page as well.
We're all going to be on the same page, fellas.
We're all on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
We can't wait for it. And we don't want to be the only ones going. We want you to be there as well. TSN 1050 wants to send you on a royal road trip to the President's Cup in Montreal. If you heard the keyword announced this morning on First Up, call us right now at 416-870-1050. 416-870-1050. The first caller through with today's keyword qualifies to win the trip. You could win flight, accommodations, $500 spending cash, and 2 tickets to see the world's top players compete at the Royal Montreal Golf Club. Full details at tsn1050.ca. There is a golf tournament going on this week. It's totally under the radar. What's it called again? The Pro Core?
It used to be the Fortinet. Sagi Thigala won it last year.
Yeah, Thigala's in it again. He's playing pretty well. I think Nick Taylor's down there playing. I think maybe Corey and Mackenzie Hughes are playing too. I saw them doing a press conference yesterday.
Not a bad deal. Just get in there and get sharp.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess exactly. Like if you're going to the President's Cup, this still counts. Money's on the line, But this year, it's going to be different, the golf world. Like, it's going to shut down effectively. The Tiger will have his Hero Challenge.
Yeah, I don't kind of like it how it's like end of August and the golf season's over, like the professional as far as watching it.
Yeah.
It just seems a little bit too early. Like maybe there's times in the year where they can ease off a little bit, but it's like these sponsors, they got these dates set, and it's like you're going, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they get to a point where January, they want to start in Hawaii, and there's a few big ones in California, then they come through Florida. Majors hit. Once the majors are done, they try to keep it alive for the FedEx. You do have the President's Cup, then you have the Ryder Cup. Like, that kind of keeps you engaged through September. But October, November, December, it's just a dead zone. Yeah, dead zone. Like, maybe Tiger's tournament, which is in December, I think. Is that the Hero? Is it in November or December? And he does his little thing with Charlie, which is kind of cool still. But Charlie, crushes the ball. He's going to be playing from, the black tips or
he might
whatever.
be doing something else in life come next year. I think he's tried to qualify for some stuff, and it's not fair to the kid, but it's not good.
Well, and that's what was always true about the situation. Just because he's Tiger's kid doesn't guarantee anything. And in the States, there are so many players that are unbelievable at the age of 10, 12,
Dude.
13. They're incredible. In the state of Florida alone, there's probably 3,000 kids who are better than him.
Dude,
that's probably rich.
The course I belong to in Florida, there was just a morning game at 8 o'clock, and there was guys that were trying to, and every one of them shot 65 every single damn day.
Crazy.
And they could not make a cut on the Hooters tour.
Couldn't make it.
Hooters tour, they'd always be back on Friday afternoon. I'd be like, what happened? I couldn't do it.
Couldn't make the cut.
Dude, you shoot 65 every day.
That's how good they are. Final hour coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.